Good evening, dear friends of Hanoi Hannah Radio. Tonight, let us journey back in time to a quieter Hoi An, when the air was filled with the fragrance of frangipani bicycles, glided past yellow walls, and young love bloomed gently beneath the shadow of war. This is the story of Daniel, a young American soldier, and Phuong, a Vietnamese girl, with eyes as soft as the full moon over the Hoi River. Daniel arrived in Vietnam in 1967. He was a technical support soldier, not involved in combat. In his spare time, he read books, kept a journal, and took photos with his father's old camera. One weekend, he traveled to Hoi An and stopped by a tiny bookshop. There, he met Phuong. She wore a white ao dai and sat reading. Her gentle manner, neatly tied black hair, and soft voice made it impossible for Daniel to look away. He bought a stack of writing paper, though truthfully, he just wanted a reason to stay longer. From that day on, he returned weekly just to see her and sit in silence. Phuong taught Daniel Vietnamese. They rode bicycles through shaded alleyways, stopped by the Hoi River to eat sweet soup, and sometimes just sat side by side saying nothing. Daniel took black and white photos, Phuong smiling near the Japanese bridge, or tilting her head as cicadas sang in the summer heat. One day, climbing Marble Mountain together, Daniel watched her stand against the wind. He felt something he never had before deep peace. In that moment, he knew he loved her, not because of cultural differences or attraction, but because everything felt right when she was near. Their love grew in silence. They never said "I love you" or held hands in public. But when their eyes met, their hearts spoke louder than words. Phuong gave him a pale blue handkerchief, "So you'll remember someone once waited for you here." Daniel, in return, gave her a wooden rosary his father had once carried, a promise without words. Then war intensified. Daniel was suddenly transferred to Hue. He had no time to say goodbye. Each night he wrote letters to Phuong, though he had no address to send them to. He drew her face from memory, afraid one day it might fade. Phuong remained in Hoi An waiting. Every morning she opened the bookshop, hoping to hear the familiar ring of a bicycle bell. Every night she wrote in her journal, whispering memories into old pages. 2 years passed. Daniel was discharged and returned to Hoi An. But the bookshop was gone. Locals said Phuong had moved to Saigon with her mother. He wandered the old town retracing their steps, but only shadows remained. Daniel left a letter in the crack of the old shop's doorframe. In it, he wrote of memories, bike rides, unspoken dreams. "If you read these lines," he wrote, "know that I'm still here in every bougainvillea bloom, every mossy street tile, every morning bell of the temple." Time moved on. Daniel became a professor, then retired in a quiet American town. He never married. When asked, he smiled, "I once loved," and that was enough. In 1996, he returned to Vietnam. Hoi An had changed, filled now with tourists, yet he still recognized familiar corners. He visited the covered bridge where they had once sat together. At sunset, he felt as if Phuong had just left moments ago. He visited an old photo shop asking about his old photos. The owner recognized Phuong's image and said her mother once shared the story of a wartime love in a local newspaper. The paper was old, folded beneath the counter. Daniel held the article, tears filling his eyes. He hadn't found Phuong, but that no longer mattered. Love, once lived deeply, did not need a conclusion to be complete. That evening, Daniel sat on a hotel balcony. The breeze lifted the curtain, the scent of blossoms filled the air, and the temple bell rang. He closed his eyes and dreamt of the girl in the white ao dai standing by the Hoi River, asking, "Will you write another letter?" Daniel didn't answer. He just smiled. Hoi An, July 4th, 1969. Dearest Daniel, I don't know if you still remember me. Maybe you've returned to that faraway place where snow falls on rooftops and maple leaves turn each fall. I'm still here in Hoi An, where sudden rain visits our streets, and every brick seems to carry our footsteps. I waited for you. Days, then months, then years. I sat in the bookshop where we used to laugh, where we read side by side. Every time the door opened, I hoped it was you. But it never was. The handkerchief you gave me, I still keep it. It's worn and faded now, but it holds the truth of a time when we dared not call it love. We were silent because the world was too loud. I never blamed you. I only wish we had said goodbye or made promises. But if I could live again, I would still love you from the start. Still let you teach me to smile with my eyes. If someday you read this letter, know that a Vietnamese girl truly waited for you. And wherever you go, my love for you remains gentle, like an afternoon in our ancient town. Love always, Phuong. In the winter of 2011, Daniel lay quietly in his armchair by the window. Snow fell outside. He turned on the radio and listened to a recorded episode of Hanoi Hannah Radio someone had once sent him. A warm voice narrated the story of love in Hoi An. Daniel closed his eyes. Bougainvillea petals drifted back into memory. The scent of green bean dessert, the call of cicadas, and Phuong's gentle gaze by the riverbank. He placed a hand on his chest, holding the image close. He whispered, "I lived a life not long, but with a love that needed no ending." That night, Daniel passed away in his sleep, holding the notebook titled Phuong and the Quiet Seasons. On his desk was a draft of an unfinished letter, perhaps the final words to the woman he had loved all his life. You're listening to the final pages of a love story found by Daniel's granddaughter, Julia Thompson. She grew up with him yet never knew he had once loved a woman from Vietnam. After his passing, Julia discovered the notebook black and white photos and a handwritten letter from a girl named Phuong. Julia said that as she read each line, she wept not from grief, but from understanding some loves don't need form or promises to be real. They simply remain becoming a legacy of the soul. Julia sent us the story, and tonight we read it to you not to share a sad tale, but to remind you, true love doesn't require reunion. It only needs memory and a heart to keep it. You're listening to Hanoi Hannah Radio. Tonight's story may end, but its feelings will linger long after the final word.